So hello everybody, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. So in continuing with the machine learning series, today we are going to discuss the difference between regression and analysis. So we know when we talk of the terminology of regression, supervised learning. When we talk of supervised learning, so supervised learning is of two types, or you can say it is categorized in having two techniques: classification, and then we have regression. Both of these are techniques of supervised learning. So regression and classification algorithms are used for the prediction in machine learning and work with the labeled data sets. So in this case, the data set should be labeled. These are the common things that we already know about this supervised learning, but both of them have a basic difference between these two. So the main difference between regression and classification algorithm is that regression is used, we call it, it is used to predict, making for generalized for prediction. And when we talk of classification, it means data to be classified into different classes. So this data is to be organized into different classes. We predict or classify the values. Now, what do we classify and which algorithm or which technique to use? So, suppose we want to work on continuous variables, then the implementation of regression is done. And when we want to work on discrete values, discrete that are also known as categorical. So in that case, discrete or categorical, we go with the technique of classification. So in the categorical or discrete, we can say the like classes are male, female, true or false, spam or not spam, pass or fail. So they are type of discrete in which we use classification. And the other way, when we have to predict the continuous value, then we proceed with in the technology of or the technique of regression. And when we talk of this classification, so it's like this, that there is a line between this and one class points are lying over here, another class is here around this side. Some may be misclassified also, it is acceptable in this case. And when we talk of linear regression, it is just like the data points fitting around this line, so which is known as the fit line. So this is what happens in regression. So classification is a process of finding a function which helps in dividing the dataset into classes based on different parameters. And in classification, a computer algorithm or computer program is trained on the training dataset. Based on their training dataset, it will categorize the data into different classes. The task of classification algorithms will be mapping the data items either into class 1 or class 2. We can consider the example of detecting email is spam or not. And when we talk of this classification, then we also need to understand another important terminology, and that classification, the types of classification. So if we talk of logistic regression, basically it uses the word regression, but it is a type of classification. We have k nearest neighbors, we have sport vector machines, we have naive Bayes classifier is there, we have decision trees, and we have random forest also. So these are classification algorithms. And talking of regression, so it is a process of finding the correlation between dependent and independent variables. It helps in predicting the continuous variable. It can be used for market trend prediction. And this consists of algorithms like simple linear regression. We have multiple linear regression. We have polynomial regression in this case. Sport vector regression is there. Decision tree regression is there. So all such algorithms are used for regression analysis. So to sum up or conclude, we can say in regression, the output variable must be a continuous variable. And in case of classification, output variable must be a discrete value. We can say the regression algorithm are used with the continuous data and classification algorithms are used with the discrete data. And in regression, we try to find the best fit line which can predict the output more accurately. But in classification, we try to find the decision boundaries which can be divided, which can divide the dataset into different classes. So regression algorithms can be used to solve regression problems like weather prediction, house price prediction, etc. On the other hand, classification algorithms can be used to solve classification problems like identification of spam emails, speech recognition, identification of certain disease, whether that disease is present or not, and all such cases. When we talk of regression, this algorithm can be further divided into linear and non-linear regression, whereas classification can be divided into binary classifier and multi-class classifier. So let's understand this technology also, that is the types of classifier in the case. So when we talk of this, binary classifier simply means we are dividing the data into two classes only, and multiple classifiers we are having more than one class, like class 1, class 2, class 3. Like take the example of gender. So class 1 says male, class 2 is female, and class 3, suppose let us say transgender. So this is the example of multi-class identifier. Also, if we say that we have to organize the students into having different grades, like there are 5 grades, A, B, C, D, E grades. So in that case, that is example of multi-class classifier. And in case of binary classifier, we can take the example whether the student is pass or fail. So that is simply binary classifier. So that's all about regression and classification, the difference between regression and classification. In the next video, we will discuss the difference between classification and clustering. So till then, goodbye, take care.